So what is shoulder turn? This is one of the most over talked about areas in the game, but misunderstood. What we're going to do is have a look at how you learn to turn the shoulders properly, which will give your golf game more consistency, more enjoyment, and give you centered contact more consistently. So we're going to have a look at shoulder rotation. What is shoulder rotation? We all know about shoulder turn in your backswing, how you actually turn your shoulders, but do you actually turn your shoulders? Isn't the shoulders where you get that movement from? Well, it's not going to be the shoulders that just turn, because individually the shoulders work in their sockets here. Okay, it's a reference point that we all use because when we have rotated, we see where they have moved to physically. At the top of the backswing, we would say, and this is 90 degrees of shoulder rotation. What's actually happened is it's the rib cage, top of the back where the turn is coming from. Okay, it's not going to be the shoulders, because if the shoulders just turn and the rib cage doesn't move, I can only turn to here. So it's actually the body that's turning. So from this center, that's what we're going to be looking at. But what we're going to have a look at is the angles you turn on, okay, and how you actually make the correct turn that will allow you to get consistent contact on the ball every single time, and also enable you to get the maximum body rotation that your body can actually achieve. Okay, so the way that we rotate on angles. So those angles are, we have left side bend, i.e. what we'd do is, if we just show this from vertical here, this would be left side bend this way, okay, this would be right side bend, okay, then we have flexion, which is forwards, and we have extension, which is backwards. Now, what we're going to primarily look at today is how you rotate in the backswing. I'm not going to talk about the downswing because that'll be too many things for us to try and take on board all at once. But what does that body turn do in that backswing? So right side bend really doesn't exist much because that is going to be a downswing move, and extension only happens in a bad movement. So what we're looking at is, as we're making this turn, I see people using this reference of saying, I need to get the left shoulder across and behind the ball. Problem is, they end up doing this. So the head moves off the ball a long way, and what happens is, all we've done is push that upper body across here. So they've flexed more over to the right, so they've put more flexion into their body here, but they haven't actually put proper rotation into it. The problem I see is, attached to that is, if we put the club in the hand here, once we see that the upper body goes across here, the club goes back really low. So it gets behind, and then what happens is the body then goes into extension and tries to put that left bend in down, and that then gets the arms upwards. But the problem is, you either go that way until, or the one that I see is really common, head goes across, and then to turn from here, they think, oh God, turn the shoulders. So they turn the shoulders, and the pelvis tucks under, and the head goes backwards. So what's happening is, they've got no torque built up in the backswing whatsoever. Okay, so it's about how do we actually turn. Well, what we want to happen is this left shoulder, if we look at this as a reference point with the club across the shoulders here, is going to be going downwards and towards the big toe on the right foot. So it's going in this direction. It feels like it's moving down there. It's actually more towards or just outside the ball line. But what's happening is, as I've turned there, that shoulder's going down, which is going to feel like you may be flexing forwards a little bit more. It's okay to go forwards a fraction the backside. I'm not talking about losing lots of height here, because if you turn the hips properly, it should counteract it and get you coiling up fantastically. So if you get that left shoulder to feel like it's going down, then the weight goes into the right heel here, and this is hip turn and upper body rotation. What this does is that builds a lot of torque up in the body. I can feel the coil I've got here through the right foot, through the upper body. Now if I put the club into place here, matching with me, I've got the club in a really good position at the top, which allows me to feel all of these angles and all the coil I need to get. The problem is, when we misunderstand how the shoulders or the body is trying to rotate, so it's not the shoulders, but we'll keep referring to the shoulders because that's what everybody does, but it's understanding that's not where it comes from. But when we get that head movement going like this, because we're trying to get that left shoulder across, this is a killer. Because all you've done is you've created no power. So then all the faults will then come in from the second part of that backswing. The key is going to be feeling that shoulder going down. So the left shoulder is going down here, and it balances so well with when the shoulder goes down that the wrist can start to set the club up. as the shoulder is going down here. Now we can just keep rotating from there, and we've turned, and the shoulders are somewhere close as it's a physical line to 90 degrees to the original spine angle, which is here, and the shoulders have now finished somewhere close to 90 degrees here. What we'll see a lot is if the head's moved off here, they'll either be upright from it or they'll be very steep from it. So both of them, they've risen out of that spine angle. So understanding how you've got forward bends and some tilt, don't want to go too complicated on it, understand how that fits together for your turn, and then making it really simplistic. The left shoulder is trying to go down towards that right toe whilst I turn those hips deep, but it's not getting, the shoulder does end up behind the ball, but it's not moving it across in this fashion. So what we're going to do is have a look at a really simple drill that's going to allow you to put this into play. So a really simple drill now with the ball in place. What I'm going to do is get my address position here, okay? A lot of people I see turn the shoulders too shallow. So what we're going to try and do is get that feeling of the shoulders from here at address, turning down. I'm trying to see the club as an extension towards the ball. This is a bit steep, but it's a bit of a reference point. Ideally, it's going to be just outside the ball line here, which is around 6 inches outside the ball line is the ideal shoulder turn. But if you are too shallow, which I see too often in the shoulders, exaggerate it. Get the feeling of being too steep. What I'd then do, once I've got the feeling for that, is set up, hit the shot, and try and get the feeling of getting the shoulders on a steeper angle going back. So we can turn back on that steeper angle for the shoulders here, getting the feel that I've just turned through. I'm keeping that spine angle back and through, and that's going to be the key. That's going to allow you to control that low point, get the correct turn, load the hips, and make sure that you are staying in your posture, which will improve your consistency and your ball striking.